In the history of great detective work, there have been some brilliant clues. A fingerprint left on a glass, a single strand of hair, a mismatched alibi. But in the year 2023, in a quiet living room just outside of Brisbane, the clue that cracked the case wide open wasn't forensic. It was phonetic. It was a single word, spoken in a bright, cheerful, and to appreciate the sheer artistry of this blunder, we need to go back to a time when the phone was a piece of furniture, not a piece of your pocket. It had weight. It had a cord you could stretch around the corner for privacy. You remember the ritual. You look up the number in the phone book, that great chunky tome of everyone you ever knew or might need to know. You dial carefully, and then you'd wait. Maybe it was busy. Maybe they weren't home. And that was okay. The anticipation was part of it. And the calls you got. It was your sister, your friend from Bridge Club, the local butcher letting you know your order was in. When that phone rang, it was an event. It was connection. Fast forward a few decades, and what's the connection? A recorded voice telling you in Mandarin that your visa is about to be canceled. A Microsoft technician from a very noisy call center who's deeply concerned about your Windows 95 computer. It's enough to make you want to dig up that old rotary phone just for the satisfaction of slamming down the receiver. So, on to our stage steps our would-be con artist. Let's call him Kyle. Now, Kyle has done his homework. Well, some of it. He's bought a list of numbers belonging to loyal, long-term customers of a major telco. He spoofed the caller ID so it looks legit. He's got a script on his computer screen that would make a Shakespearean actor proud. Good afternoon. This is Kyle from the Customer Retention and Loyalty Rewards Division of Telco Giant Australia. Am I speaking with Mrs. Marjorie Henderson? Marjorie, our heroine, is sharp as a tack. She's just finished her morning tea and is contemplating whether to deadhead the roses or finally tackle that drawer full of old cables. You know the drawer. We all have that drawer. She's wary, but Kyle is good. He confirms her address, gets the street right, even the suburb. He knows her current plan, the grandfathered Gold Coast Legacy plan with the 5 GB data bonus from 2017. Impressive. He sounds like he's reading straight from the account. He's pitching a fiber-to-the-premises upgrade at a loyalty discount. It sounds plausible. But Marjorie has a secret weapon. It's not a fancy app. It's a lifetime of lived experience. As Kyle drones on about latency and gigabit speeds, her mind wanders back to her first phone, a shared party line with the Johnsons next door. You had to listen for your specific ring. Then her first mobile phone, a brick with an antenna you had to pull out. It cost a fortune per minute. This lad sounds like he's reading from a pamphlet. He hasn't taken a breath, and he hasn't said please or thank you once, not properly. She decides to test the waters. She asks a simple conversational question. So this new line, will it be more reliable than the old copper? I remember during the '74 floods, the lines were down for a week. We had to use Mrs. Bernard's phone across the street. Yes, ma'am. Fiber is very reliable. It's made of glass. Now, about the contract terms. He brushed right past her story. A real person, especially from a telco, might have said, gosh, the '74 floods? My grandma talks about those. But Kyle had no time for nostalgia. He was on a script. And then he delivered the line that would be his undoing. And this exclusive offer is being rolled out to our valued customers in major metropolitan areas like Sydney, Melbourne, and Briz-bane. There it was, Briz-bane, with a long A, like the pain in your back, not Brisbane, not Brisbane, Briz-bane. It hung in the air between them, as obvious and clumsy as a concrete lawn ornament. In that moment, Marjorie's mild suspicion crystallized into absolute certainty. No Australian, let alone someone who supposedly worked for a national telecommunications company servicing Queenslanders, would ever say it that way. It was the verbal equivalent of wearing socks with sandals to the Melbourne Cup. Instead of hanging up, a mischievous glint appeared in Marjorie's eye. This was more fun than the crossword. She switched into what I like to call polite inquisition mode. Marjorie, voice as sweet as pie. "Oh, you said Brisbane? That's an interesting way to say it, dear. Where did you say your office was located again?" Kyle, voice. "I'm with the national team, ma'am." Marjorie. "The national team, how lovely. But you must have a Queensland office. Is it in the city, near the Treasury building, or over at Milton? I ask because my late husband, Frank, helped install some of the original switchboards in the building on Creek Street in '78. He'd talk about the miles of colored wires. It was like a rainbow spaghetti." Kyle was now adrift in a sea of specifics he couldn't navigate. He stammered. Marjorie pressed on, a gentle steamroller of local knowledge. Marjorie. "And your system says I'm in Brisbane, but are you classifying Indooroopilly as Brisbane Metro? Because when we moved here, it was practically its own town. The big shopping center didn't open until '86, you know." Kyle, voice cracking. "Ma'am, I just need to know if you're interested in the offer." Marjorie, voice turning the screw. "Of course I'm interested, Kyle, but before I agree to anything, I need your employee ID, a direct line to your Queensland state manager, his name would be in the system, surely, and the reference number for this loyalty offer. I'll just hold while you look those up." And just like that, he was gone, vanished into the digital ether. Marjorie had won, not with anger, not with fear, but with the relentless, chatty power of someone who knows their home turf. We laugh, but this is about more than a mispronunciation. It's about the superpowers our older generations possess that these scammers completely underestimate. The BS detector, honed over decades of dealing with door-to-door salesmen, newspaper ads, and watching current affairs shows, you develop a nose for when something doesn't smell right. The institutional memory. You remember what real customer service was. You remember when the phone company man came to your house, polished his shoes on the mat, and fixed the problem with a smile and maybe a cup of tea. A rushed, impersonal script feels insulting. The value of a proper conversation. Scammers want a transaction. You're used to an interaction. You listen to tone, to hesitation, to the spaces between words. Kyle had no spaces. It was all words. Local knowledge as a shield. You don't need GPS to know your city. You have mental maps built from school runs, Saturday shopping, and decades of community life. A scammer's generic script can't compete with that. So, in the spirit of Marjorie, let's arm ourselves, not with anger, but with cleverness and a dash of humor. The endless anecdote. Start telling a long, detailed, and utterly mundane story about your experiences with the company. That reminds me of the time in 1992 when my bill was 43 cents out. See how long they stay on the line. The technicality tango. Ask highly specific, slightly irrelevant technical questions. Will this new fiber optic line be compatible with my AM radio reception? I listen to the Cricket on AM. The I must consult delay. This sounds wonderful, but I never make a decision before discussing it with my canary, daughter who's an engineer, neighbor who used to work for telecom. Can you call back next Thursday after my pottery class? The ultimate test, the pronunciation pop quiz.
Casually ask them to name a local landmark or pronounce a tricky suburb name. If they stumble on Brisbane, wait until they try Wooloowin, Toowong, or Mackay.
In the end, Marjorie's victory wasn't just about avoiding a scam. It was a validation, a reminder that the skills you've gathered over a lifetime, paying attention, remembering details, valuing genuine human connection, are not obsolete. They are your first and best line of defense in a world that sometimes feels confusingly digital. So, the next time the phone rings with an offer that seems too good to be true, take a page from Marjorie's book. Take a breath, listen closely, ask a question only a local would know. Your experience, your memory, and your good old-fashioned common sense are tools no scammer can hack. They're wired right into who you are.
Have you or someone you know ever caught a scammer with a silly mistake? Maybe they called about your Amazon Prime account, but you've never used it. Or they claimed to be from the tax office, but asked for payment in iTunes cards. Share your stories in the comments below. Let's create a hall of fame for everyday's heroes. And if you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more stories that celebrate wit, wisdom, and the art of paying attention. Until next time, keep your wits about you, your memories close, and never stop asking questions.